Every morning is a silent vote for the life you will live. If you want 2026 to change, don't wait for luck. Change how you begin your day. The Stoics believe this: win the morning, and you win the mind. Here are 5 Stoic rules to fix your life. Starting every morning. Waking with discipline means choosing action before emotion. The moment your eyes open, your mind will search for comfort. It will suggest more sleep, delay, excuses, and softness. This is natural. The Stoics understood that the mind resists effort by default. Discipline is not about force or anger toward yourself. It is about calm obedience to reason. You get up because it is the right thing to do, not because you feel ready. The morning sets the direction of the entire day. If you surrender control in the first minutes, you train your mind to surrender all day long. When you wake with discipline, you are teaching yourself that your decisions are not ruled by comfort. You rise because you decided yesterday that this is the kind of person you are becoming. This small act shapes your character more than motivation ever could. Discipline in waking is an act of self-respect. It is a quiet promise kept. No one is watching. No praise is given. That is why it matters. The Stoics valued actions done in private more than actions performed for approval. Getting out of bed on time is a victory over weakness that only you will know, and that knowledge strengthens the soul. The body may feel heavy, the mind unclear, but discipline does not wait for perfect conditions. It works with what is available. You do not need to feel inspired. You do not need energy. You only need agreement with yourself that this moment will not control you. Each disciplined morning makes the next one easier, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Waking with discipline also means refusing chaos at the start of the day. No rushing, no panic, no immediate reaction to noise, messages, or problems. You rise, you breathe, you stand with intention. This steadiness protects the mind. A calm morning builds resilience against whatever the day brings. When challenges appear, you recognize them as familiar, not threatening. The Stoics believed that time is borrowed, not owned. When you waste the morning, you waste something that can never be returned. Discipline is how you honor time. You rise not because the day demands it, but because your values demand it. This creates inner order. An ordered mind sees clearly and acts correctly. Waking with discipline is also training for hardship. Life will demand effort at inconvenient times. If you cannot command yourself to rise from a warm bed, how will you command yourself to act when the stakes are higher? The morning becomes practice for courage, endurance, and self-control. Each time you rise without complaint, you prepare yourself for larger tests. This discipline should be calm, not harsh. There is no need for self-insults or aggression. You simply observe the resistance and move anyway. You accept that discomfort exists and does not need to be argued with. This acceptance removes suffering. The body feels tired, but the mind remains steady. Over time, waking with discipline changes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who waits for the right mood. You become someone who acts according to principle. This shift is subtle but powerful. Confidence grows quietly. Trust in yourself deepens. You know that when you decide something matters, you will act, even when it is inconvenient. The Stoic morning is not about productivity alone. It is about mastery. Mastery of impulse, desire, and delay. By rising with discipline, you place reason above appetite. You begin the day aligned with your highest values rather than your weakest urges. This alignment creates inner peace, because there is no conflict between what you know is right and what you choose to do. Each disciplined morning is a statement: I govern myself. I do not need to be pushed. I do not need pressure. I move when reason calls, even when comfort protests. Choosing purpose over comfort begins the moment awareness returns in the morning. Comfort speaks softly but persistently. It offers warmth, ease, delay, and excuses that sound reasonable. Purpose is quieter. It does not beg or threaten. It simply waits to be chosen. The Stoic learns early that life bends toward comfort unless guided by intention, and intention must be renewed each day. Comfort feels safe, but it weakens the will. When comfort becomes the first choice, the mind slowly loses its edge. Tasks feel heavier. Challenges feel personal. Purpose, on the other hand, sharpens focus. It reminds you that every day carries a responsibility, even when no one is watching. The Stoics believed a person is defined not by what they avoid, but by what they willingly face. To choose purpose is to accept effort without complaint. It is not about rejecting pleasure entirely, but about placing it in its proper place. Comfort after effort strengthens the body and mind. Comfort before effort dulls them. The morning is where this order is decided. When you rise with purpose, you send a signal to yourself that your life is guided by reason, not convenience. Purpose gives structure to time. Without it, hours slip away unnoticed. With it, even small actions carry meaning. The Stoic approach is not to chase excitement, but to commit to what must be done. Purpose may feel ordinary, but it builds extraordinary strength over time. It asks for consistency, not intensity. Choosing purpose over comfort also builds independence. When you rely on comfort, your mood controls you. When you rely on purpose, you remain steady regardless of mood. The Stoics trained themselves to act well whether they felt pleasure or pain. This emotional independence is freedom. You are no longer at the mercy of how you feel when you know why you act. Discomfort is not the enemy in this process. Resistance is expected. The body may complain, the mind may hesitate, but purpose remains unchanged. You do not need to defeat discomfort, you only need to refuse to obey it. Over time, discomfort loses its authority. It becomes background noise rather than a command. Purpose also clarifies priorities. When you choose it, distractions lose power. You become less reactive and more deliberate. The Stoics believed that many problems come not from difficulty but from confusion about what matters. Purpose removes this confusion. It narrows your focus to what is essential and ignores the rest. Living with purpose creates inner alignment. Your thoughts, actions, and values move in the same direction. This alignment reduces inner conflict. When comfort leads, there is often regret afterward. When purpose leads, there is quiet satisfaction, even if the work was hard. This satisfaction does not depend on results. It comes from knowing you acted in accordance with reason. Choosing purpose over comfort also prepares you for loss and change. Comfort depends on external conditions staying pleasant. Purpose remains steady even when conditions shift. The Stoics understood that external things are unstable. Purpose anchors you when circumstances are uncertain. It gives you something internal to rely on when everything outside is unpredictable. Each morning presents the same choice. No dramatic moment announces it. It appears in simple decisions. Stay or rise, delay or act, drift or direct. The Stoic chooses direction. This choice, repeated daily, shapes character. Over time, life reflects these choices. Strength grows quietly. Discipline deepens. The mind becomes resilient. Purpose becomes natural. Comfort loses its control. Controlling your thoughts before the world touches you is one of the most important practices for a strong, steady mind. The moment you wake, your mind is vulnerable. External noise, messages, and demands have the power to scatter attention and stir emotion before reason has fully awakened. If you allow the day to dictate your mental state first, you give away the one thing that is truly yours, the ability to govern yourself. Discipline begins internally, not externally. The first act of control is awareness. Notice the mind as it stirs. Thoughts will jump to worry, desire, or distraction. They may even bring regrets from the past or anxieties about the future. This is natural, but natural does not mean necessary. You have the choice to observe these thoughts without surrendering to them. To watch without reacting is the beginning of mastery. By observing first, you create a space in which reason can speak clearly, and impulses no longer have automatic power over you. Next is selection. Not every thought deserves attention. Some are mere background noise, others are urgent, and a few are meaningful. To control your mind, you must decide what to nurture and what to dismiss. This requires clarity, which comes from purpose and values. Ask yourself, which thoughts serve my day, which thoughts serve my growth, and which thoughts are distractions? From this question emerges control. The mind learns to prioritize the constructive and ignore the trivial, which reduces mental fatigue and increases focus. Silence is a tool in this process. Before you check your phone, before you respond to messages, before you meet anyone, spend a few moments alone. Sit, breathe, and simply be present with yourself. This silent attention creates an inner shield against the chaos of the day. It allows you to establish the tone of your mental state. By choosing calm before engagement, you set a standard for the rest of the day. Reaction will follow reason, not impulse. Control of thought also means rejecting unnecessary emotional influence. The world will offer constant provocation, anger, fear, envy, or desire. If you allow the first moments of the day to be dominated by these emotions, your actions become reactive, and your mind becomes fragmented. By maintaining control for thing, you create a buffer. You decide which emotions to entertain, which to release, and which to transform into purposeful energy. This is not suppression, but intelligent management. The practice of early mental control also strengthens resilience. Life is unpredictable. Challenges will arise that demand calm judgment. If the mind has already surrendered to distraction or worry, your response will be chaotic. A mind trained to command itself in quiet hours is ready for the chaos of the world. It does not collapse under pressure because it has already learned discipline when the stakes felt small. Small victories over thought lead to large victories in action. Control is reinforced by reflection. Take a moment each morning to remind yourself of your responsibilities, intentions, and priorities. Think through the day in advance. By doing so, you preempt confusion and indecision. You know which thoughts are helpful and which are not, which makes your decisions sharper and more deliberate. This clarity becomes habitual, making the mind more resistant to distraction and more aligned with purpose. Finally, controlling your thoughts before the world touches you is a statement of ownership. It declares that you are the ruler of your inner kingdom. External circumstances may vary, and other people may act unpredictably, but your mind remains your domain. The strength to observe, select, silence, and direct thought establishes freedom. It builds the foundation for every action, every choice, and every moment that follows. Over time, this daily practice transforms a reactive mind into a disciplined, steady, and clear one, able to face life with reason rather than impulse, with calm rather than anxiety, and with purpose rather than distraction. Avoiding morning distractions is a practice that shapes the mind before it encounters the chaos of the day. The first moments after waking are delicate. The mind is soft, impressionable, and easily pulled into habits that lead nowhere. Notifications, social media, news, or idle scrolling demand attention immediately, and if you give in, you surrender control before you have even begun. These small distractions feel harmless, but they set a tone of reaction rather than direction. The mind works like clay in the early hours. What touches it first often leaves the strongest mark. If you allow trivial information to fill your thoughts, you carry distraction forward into every decision, every interaction, every action. By contrast, if you guard these moments, you set the day's foundation on intention and focus. Avoiding distraction is not about avoidance alone. It is about creating space for clarity, reflection, and preparation. Silence in the morning is a powerful tool. No notifications, no messages, no external demands. Just time to breathe, to move, to observe. This silence allows the mind to awaken naturally, without interference. It gives you an opportunity to notice your thoughts, to organize priorities, and to establish purpose. By delaying engagement with the outside world, you create a mental buffer, a place where your attention belongs to you alone before it is demanded by others. Avoiding distractions also means controlling habits. The body often craves ease, scrolling, checking, reacting. The mind seeks novelty, stimulation, and instant gratification. These impulses are natural, but they are not productive. Discipline requires recognizing these tendencies and choosing otherwise. By refusing to indulge the pull of distraction, you train the mind to prioritize what is important over what is tempting. Over time, this strengthens willpower and cultivates self-respect. The practice of avoiding distractions also sharpens focus. When the morning is spent in controlled reflection rather than reaction, the mind becomes capable of sustained attention. Tasks are approached with clarity rather than scattered thought. Energy is directed, not wasted. The small effort of resisting the first pull of distraction multiplies throughout the day, making every decision more deliberate and every action more effective. Avoiding distractions is closely linked to emotional control. When the mind is bombarded with external noise, emotional responses arise before reason can intervene. Anger, irritation, envy, or anxiety often begin in the first minutes and are fueled by external input. By keeping the morning quiet, you prevent these emotions from dominating your mind. You start the day with calm, and that calm spreads to every subsequent moment. Deliberate control of attention also reinforces independence. The world constantly seeks to influence, and without intention, influence becomes control. Choosing what to engage with and when to engage builds autonomy. The mind learns to respond based on values rather than impulses, and this freedom becomes the foundation of all disciplined action. Avoiding distractions creates the mental space needed for purpose. A clear morning allows reflection on intentions, priorities, and the tasks that matter most. The mind can evaluate the day ahead, decide on action, and move with deliberate strength. Distraction clouds judgment, weakens resolve, and scatters effort. By protecting the first hours, you protect the quality of your entire day. This practice also trains patience. Impulse is powerful, but delaying engagement with the external world teaches restraint. The mind learns that instant gratification is not necessary, and that delayed focus leads to greater rewards. Every morning becomes a rehearsal for patience, discipline, and clarity. Finally, avoiding morning distractions is a statement of sovereignty over your own life. The day will demand attention, but the first moments belong to you. Guard them carefully. Each distraction resisted strengthens the mind. Each moment of quiet attention builds resilience, and each deliberate choice reinforces the habit of reason over impulse. In time, this practice transforms a reactive life into one guided by conscious, deliberate, and purposeful action. Accepting what you cannot control is one of the most powerful steps toward peace and strength. Life presents circumstances that are outside your influence, whether other people's decisions, unexpected events, and the passage of time. To resist these things is to create unnecessary suffering. The Stoic way is not to surrender effort, but to recognize limits. By accepting what cannot be changed, you conserve energy for what can be influenced, and you maintain clarity of mind when challenges arise. The first aspect of this acceptance is observation. Notice what happens without judgment. The world may act harshly, unfairly, or unpredictably. Your initial reaction is often emotional, immediate, and reactive. The mind may resist, demanding justice, revenge, or correction. Recognize these impulses without acting on them. Acceptance begins with seeing reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. This does not mean you approve of every event, only that you acknowledge its existence. Understanding what is within your control and what is not is central to this practice. You cannot control the opinions of others, natural events, or the flow of time. You can, however, control your response, your effort, and your perspective. By distinguishing between the two, you redirect energy from frustration to action. Effort becomes effective rather than wasted, and peace grows because you are no longer fighting what is immutable. Acceptance also strengthens emotional resilience. When the mind resists the uncontrollable, it becomes restless, anxious, or bitter. By practicing acceptance, you prevent these emotions from taking hold. You maintain composure even in difficult circumstances. This composure is not passivity, it is the clarity to respond wisely. It allows judgment to remain unclouded, and choices to be deliberate rather than reactive. Acceptance encourages adaptability. Life rarely follows a predictable path. Plans are disrupted, people change, and events unfold unexpectedly. When you accept that these things are not within your power, you can adjust without panic. Flexibility becomes natural. The mind learns to navigate obstacles efficiently, seeing them as part of the journey rather than personal attacks. Patience is another benefit of accepting what you cannot control. Some events require time to unfold. Some outcomes are delayed or uncertain. Resisting the timing of life causes tension. By accepting the natural order of events, you develop patience. You understand that control over timing is limited and that waiting is often necessary. Patience preserves energy and maintains focus for the tasks that matter. Acceptance also cultivates humility. It reminds you that the world does not revolve around your desires or expectations. You are part of a larger system, influenced by forces beyond your reach. Humility does not diminish your power. It directs it wisely. It focuses attention on personal responsibility rather than futile attempts to dominate what is uncontrollable. This practice builds mental clarity. The mind is often clouded by attempts to force change where it cannot occur. Acceptance removes this distraction. By acknowledging limits, you free mental space for practical thinking. decisions become clearer, priorities sharper, and actions more purposeful. Energy is no longer wasted on resistance. Acceptance fosters inner peace. When you stop fighting the uncontrollable, tension decreases. Life's uncertainties are no longer threats but facts to navigate. A calm mind observes, evaluates, and responds. Peace is not dependent on circumstances. It arises from the consistent choice to align perception with reality. Finally, accepting what you cannot control reinforces responsibility over what you can. By letting go of futile struggle, you focus on effort, decisions, and attitudes that truly belong to you. This strengthens character, sharpens judgment, and cultivates mastery over self. The practice becomes a daily exercise in discernment, resilience, and purposeful living, allowing the mind to act effectively, calmly, and with reason at all times. Preparing for difficulty is not about expecting the worst, it is about understanding the nature of life and responding with clarity and strength. Every day presents challenges, small or large, and the mind that anticipates them is never caught off guard. Difficulties are inevitable, unexpected events, demands from others, physical discomfort, or mental strain arise without warning. To ignore this reality is to leave oneself vulnerable to frustration, fear, or regret. Preparation begins in the quiet of the mind, before the world imposes its pressure. The first step in preparing for difficulty is acknowledgement. Accept that life includes obstacles, and that you will face situations that test your patience, skill, and endurance. This is not pessimism, it is realism. By acknowledging challenges in advance, you remove the element of surprise, which is often what causes emotional upheaval. When difficulty arrives, the mind recognizes it as familiar territory. It does not panic or resist irrationally because preparation has already softened the impact. Preparation also involves mental rehearsal. Visualize potential challenges and your response to them. Imagine confrontation, rejection, delay, or failure, and consider how you will act with composure and reason. Mental rehearsal trains the mind to respond with steadiness rather than impulsiveness. It builds confidence because you have already faced the scenario internally, even before encountering it externally. The Stoics understood that the mind is strengthened through practice, and imagination is a safe, effective way to practice. Another aspect of preparation is strengthening patience and endurance. Difficulties often demand persistence rather than immediate solutions. By reminding yourself that obstacles require time and effort to overcome, you cultivate a steady mindset. Patience reduces impulsive reactions and allows for thoughtful action. Endurance ensures that when challenges last longer than expected, the mind remains resilient rather than overwhelmed. Preparation also means clarifying priorities. When a problem arises, you must quickly decide what matters most. Mental clarity comes from establishing values and objectives in advance. Knowing what is essential allows you to allocate energy efficiently and avoid being distracted by trivial matters. When difficulty comes, decisions become deliberate rather than reactive, and your efforts are concentrated where they will have the greatest effect. Physical readiness is also part of preparing for difficulty. Maintaining health, energy, and routine ensures that the body can support the mind when challenges arrive. A strong body aids endurance, focus, and resilience. Neglecting physical preparation weakens the mind because fatigue and discomfort amplify emotional reactions, making challenges appear more overwhelming than they are. Emotional preparation is equally important. Expect irritation, anger, fear, and frustration and plan how to meet them with composure. Difficulties are not only external, they trigger internal resistance. By anticipating emotional responses, you gain control over them. You learn to observe feelings without surrendering to them, maintaining calm and clarity even under pressure. Preparation also includes accepting responsibility for your actions. Difficult situations often require decisions, adjustments, and initiative. By internalizing responsibility, you empower yourself rather than blaming circumstances or others. Taking ownership strengthens agency and reduces helplessness. You learn that even in hardship, there are always choices available, and choosing wisely is a form of mastery. Practicing preparation for difficulty also fosters humility and perspective. Challenges remind you that life is complex and that outcomes are not always guaranteed. Humility keeps the mind grounded, preventing arrogance and impatience from interfering with judgment. Perspective ensures that difficulties are seen as part of growth rather than as personal attacks or signs of failure. Finally, preparation builds consistency. By meeting each day with readiness for challenge, the mind becomes resilient, calm, and adaptive. Difficulties no longer intimidate. They become occasions to exercise skill, patience, and discipline. The habit of preparation turns uncertainty into opportunity, tension into focus, and obstacles into a training ground for mastery, creating a steady and enduring strength that carries through every aspect of life. Staying calm under pressure is a skill that shapes both character and life. Pressure comes in many forms: unexpected problems, criticism from others, urgent demands, or internal fears. Most people react immediately, letting emotions dictate words, actions, and decisions. A mind ruled by emotion is rarely effective. Calmness is not passivity, it is clarity. It allows thought to guide action rather than panic or impulse. Staying calm under pressure begins with the understanding that pressure is inevitable, and how you respond is within your control. The first step to calmness is recognition. When stress arises, notice it without judgment. The heart may race, the body may tense, and thoughts may spin, but these reactions are natural. Observing them creates distance between the event and your response. This distance is the foundation of composure. When the mind pauses to observe rather than react immediately, you regain the ability to act with reason. Breathing is a simple yet powerful tool to maintain calm. Deep, steady breaths slow the physiological response to pressure. They signal the body that danger is not immediate and allow the mind to regain focus. Breathing anchors attention in the present, preventing the mind from spiraling into fear or anxiety. In this way, calmness is cultivated physically as well as mentally. Perspective is another key element. Pressure often feels larger than it is because it is immediate. Stepping back mentally allows you to assess the situation realistically. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, or a year? This question does not diminish responsibility, but it reduces unnecessary panic and emotional escalation. Keeping perspective ensures that your energy is directed towards solutions rather than wasted on fear or frustration. Preparation enhances calmness. The mind that has anticipated challenges and rehearsed responses is less likely to be overwhelmed. Anticipating obstacles does not mean expecting failure, but it creates readiness. When difficulty arises, the prepared mind responds with measured action. Calmness is the natural product of preparation, because nothing that occurs is entirely unexpected or unmanageable. Acceptance of what cannot be changed is central to maintaining calm. Pressure often includes elements outside your control. Attempting to control these elements creates tension and distraction. By focusing solely on what you can influence, your thoughts, actions, and reactions, you preserve energy and mental clarity. Calmness is the outcome of directing attention wisely rather than resisting the uncontrollable. Patience strengthens calm under pressure. Events unfold at their own pace, and urgent reactions often worsen outcomes. By slowing your response and allowing reason to guide action, you reduce mistakes and increase effectiveness. Patience also prevents emotional escalation, keeping interactions with others constructive rather than reactive. Focus is critical. When under pressure, the mind may scatter, attending to many problems at once. Calmness comes from narrowing attention to the essential elements and tackling them deliberately. Every action becomes intentional, every decision thoughtful. This discipline of focus prevents overwhelm and reinforces control over circumstance. Mindset shapes reaction. Viewing pressure as an opportunity rather than a threat changes how you experience it. Challenges test skill, patience, and endurance. Each moment under pressure is a chance to exercise calmness, to strengthen the mind, and to demonstrate mastery over impulse. This perspective transforms difficulty from a burden into a training ground for resilience. Finally, staying calm under pressure requires repetition and habit. Calmness is not automatic. It is cultivated through consistent practice. Each situation in which you maintain composure reinforces the mind's ability to do so again. Over time, calm becomes natural. The mind learns to remain steady amidst chaos, clear amidst confusion, and deliberate amidst urgency, turning pressure into a tool for growth and mastery rather than a source of fear or reaction. Doing the hard task first is a principle that transforms productivity, character, and life. Most people delay what is difficult, uncomfortable, or important, waiting instead for ease or inspiration. This habit may feel natural, but it weakens the mind and scatters effort. The first action of the day sets the tone for everything that follows. When you choose to confront what is hardest first, you establish discipline, build momentum, and free the mind from anxiety that comes from avoidance. The difficulty of a task often creates resistance in the mind. The body and emotions seek comfort, suggesting delay, distraction, or excuses. This resistance is natural, but it is also the measure of what matters. The hard task is usually the task that will move your life forward, that requires courage, focus, or skill. By facing it first, you align action with what is important rather than what is convenient. Beginning with the hard task strengthens willpower. Willpower is like a muscle. It grows through use. Each time you act despite resistance, you reinforce your capacity to act again. The mind learns that effort is not a threat but a choice, and that discomfort is temporary while results endure. This repetition trains the mind to act decisively, without being ruled by impulse or laziness. Doing the hard task first also reduces mental clutter. When a difficult task is postponed, it lingers in thought, creating anxiety and distraction. It demands attention even when you try to focus elsewhere. Completing it early clears mental space, allowing subsequent tasks to be approached with calm, clarity, and efficiency. Momentum builds from action, and the mind grows sharper as it moves from challenge to challenge. Action without delay develops confidence. The mind doubts, the body hesitates, and emotions resist, but choosing to begin immediately demonstrates mastery over internal resistance. Confidence does not arise from comfort or easy wins. It comes from repeated confrontation with what is hard. Each completed challenge reinforces trust in your ability to act under pressure and overcome resistance. This principle also teaches patience and persistence. Hard tasks often require sustained effort rather than quick solutions. By starting them first, you accept that difficulty demands attention and endurance. The mind learns to tolerate discomfort, manage frustration, and continue steadily even when progress is slow. This patience strengthens character and builds resilience for future challenges. Focusing on the hardest task first encourages clarity in priorities. Not all tasks are equal, and the hardest often has the greatest impact. By addressing it before distraction or lesser tasks, you ensure that effort is spent on what truly matters. This reduces wasted energy and increases effectiveness, because the mind acts with intention rather than reacting to urgency or convenience. Confronting difficulty first also teaches humility and self-awareness. It reminds you that the mind and body often prefer comfort, but growth lies beyond ease. By facing what is hard, you acknowledge limits, exercise discipline, and expand capacity. Each challenge met is proof of the mind's ability to rise above instinct and act according to reason rather than desire. Doing the hard task first creates a rhythm for the day. Small, easy tasks are no longer distractions that occupy time and attention. They become opportunities to continue movement rather than points of procrastination. The day is structured around deliberate action, with focus and energy naturally guided toward what is important, rather than what is tempting. Finally, this principle reinforces the connection between action and results. Hard work produces real progress, while delay produces anxiety and stagnation. By choosing effort over avoidance, you train the mind to seek growth, embrace challenge, and act decisively. Over time, this habit reshapes how life is approached, turning resistance into opportunity, discomfort into mastery, and intention into tangible accomplishment. Acting without complaint is a principle that strengthens character and cultivates inner freedom. Life presents countless demands, obstacles, and burdens, and it is natural to feel resistance or frustration. Most people express this resistance through words, emotions, or excuses, which only amplifies tension and spreads negativity. Acting without complaint does not mean ignoring difficulty or submitting to it blindly. It means approaching tasks, responsibilities, and challenges with acceptance, focus, and resolve. It transforms effort into mastery rather than struggle. The first aspect of acting without complaint is internal acknowledgement. Recognize that life will present tasks you do not enjoy, people who are unreasonable, and situations that test patience. Acknowledgement does not require resistance or lamentation. It simply means seeing reality clearly. Complaints arise when the mind refuses to accept what is. By observing reality without judgment, you reduce the emotional charge that leads to irritation and resistance, allowing action to flow naturally from reason. Discipline is strengthened through complaint-free action. Complaining is a form of mental resistance. It expends energy on negativity rather than productive effort. Each time you act without complaint, you conserve energy and reinforce the mind's ability to focus. The body and emotions often seek to express dissatisfaction, but the mind that chooses reason over impulse becomes stronger, more capable, and less vulnerable to distraction or discouragement. Acting without complaint also improves relationships and influence. Complaints draw attention to difficulty rather than solution, creating tension and undermining respect. When action is taken quietly, efficiently, and without unnecessary words, it demonstrates competence, patience, and self-control. People notice effectiveness, not grumbling, and influence grows naturally because results speak louder than complaint. This principle also teaches endurance. Life rarely unfolds perfectly, and obstacles often persist longer than expected. Complaining prolongs mental struggle, while acceptance and action create momentum. By acting without complaint, the mind and body learn to endure discomfort, inconvenience, or opposition without losing focus. Each effort strengthens the ability to sustain effort under pressure, building resilience that lasts far beyond the immediate challenge. Focusing on solutions rather than problems is central to this practice. Complaints emphasize what is wrong. Acting without complaint emphasizes what can be done. The mind shifts from resistance to creativity, from stagnation to movement. Challenges are reframed as opportunities to exercise skill, patience, and judgment. Energy is no longer wasted on negativity but directed toward meaningful progress. Self-respect grows when action is taken without complaint. Complaining often signals weakness, dependency, or unwillingness to face responsibility. Acting quietly and deliberately signals mastery over impulses, confidence in ability, and ownership of circumstances. Each act without complaint reinforces self-trust and strengthens character, because it demonstrates that effort is driven by principle rather than convenience or emotion. This practice also nurtures emotional stability. Complaints amplify frustration, resentment, and irritation, which can spiral into poor decisions and strained interactions. By choosing action without complaint, the mind remains calm, measured, and focused. Emotional energy is preserved, allowing decisions and behaviors to be guided by reason rather than reaction. Calmness becomes habitual, and composure becomes a default response to challenge. Acting without complaint fosters humility. It reminds the mind that difficulty, effort, and inconvenience are natural parts of life. By accepting these realities without verbalizing dissatisfaction, you align with reality rather than fighting it. This humility does not diminish action. It strengthens it by ensuring effort is consistent, purposeful, and unclouded by unnecessary emotion. Finally, this principle transforms life over time. Tasks that once felt burdensome become manageable. Challenges that once provoked frustration become opportunities for growth. The mind develops clarity, patience, and strength, and the body learns endurance. Each act without complaint reinforces a pattern of reason over emotion, purpose over desire, and action over resistance, creating a life guided by discipline, resilience, and inner mastery. Remembering that time is limited is a principle that profoundly shapes how life is approached and lived. Most people move through days as if time is endless, postponing action, delaying effort, and leaving priorities to chance. This creates a subtle but persistent anxiety, a feeling that life is slipping by without meaning or control. Awareness of time's limitation transforms perspective. Every moment becomes valuable, every choice deliberate, and every action aligned with purpose. Recognizing the finite nature of life motivates discipline, focus, and clarity. The first step in this practice is awareness. Time passes whether we notice it or not, and the mind often forgets this simple truth in the midst of routine. Each day contains a fixed number of hours, and each hour, a fixed number of opportunities to act, learn, or grow. By reflecting on the impermanence of each day, you cultivate urgency without panic. Urgency reminds the mind that waiting for ideal conditions or perfect motivation is often wasted energy. Acting now becomes a necessity, not a suggestion. This awareness also fosters prioritization. When time is understood as limited, trivial matters lose their weight. Complaints, distractions, and unproductive habits no longer dominate attention. The mind naturally focuses on what is meaningful: work that builds skill, relationships that foster growth, and habits that strengthen character. By consciously valuing time, you ensure that effort is directed toward outcomes that matter rather than fleeting pleasures or empty tasks. Reflection strengthens this understanding. Considering past moments that were wasted or opportunities ignored teaches the mind to recognize patterns and adjust behavior. The awareness of time's passage enhances accountability. Each day becomes a microcosm of life itself, a chance to practice focus, discipline, and reason. When the mind reflects on what has already been lost, it motivates better choices for the moment still available. This principle also encourages presence. Time is limited, and the past cannot be relived, nor the future guaranteed. Acting with full attention in the present maximizes the value of each moment. Presence reduces regret, distraction, and carelessness. The mind learns to act deliberately rather than mechanically, ensuring that even mundane tasks are executed with care, thoughtfulness, and purpose. Remembering time's limit also cultivates courage. Knowing that life is brief reduces fear of difficulty, discomfort, or challenge. You realize that postponement is more costly than effort, and hesitation delays growth. Courage emerges not from absence of fear, but from the knowledge that time will not wait, and that action, even imperfect action, is more valuable than inaction. Discipline grows naturally from this awareness. When the clock is finite, habits that consume excessive time are abandoned, and habits that build skill, clarity, and focus are cultivated. The mind becomes efficient, energy is preserved, and procrastination is minimized. Time limitation is a guide, shaping action, reinforcing consistency, and creating structure without external enforcement. This awareness also enhances gratitude. Each moment is a gift that will never return. Recognizing that time is limited heightens appreciation for health, opportunity, learning, and relationships. Gratitude motivates careful use of each day and deepens engagement with life's experiences. Moments are no longer taken for granted. They are treated as precious resources to be invested wisely. Remembering that time is limited promotes humility. Life is fleeting, and control over events is never absolute. By accepting this, the mind becomes realistic, adaptable, and measured. Humility keeps ambition grounded, effort consistent, and perspective balanced. It reminds the mind to act wisely and efficiently, not arrogantly or recklessly. Finally, understanding time's limitation encourages legacy. Every action is weighed in terms of impact, growth, and contribution. You begin to see that life is not measured in hours alone, but in the quality of effort, the depth of learning, and the alignment with principle. Each moment carries potential, and the disciplined mind seeks to use it fully, creating a life guided by purpose, mastery, and meaningful engagement with the finite gift of existence.